On the beat.
Zambezi, ah, yeah. Ah, yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Paradigm Initiative podcast at the 2025 Digital Rights and Inclusion Forum. DRIF is a forum organized by Paradigm Initiative every year, and this year we are coming to you from Lusaka in the beautiful country of Zambia. We have today with us Khadijah El-Usman from Paradigm Initiative. You'll get to know her later. And Khadijah is author of the Londa Report for Nigeria. But what exactly is Londa? Every year, Paradigm Initiative produces a report on the state of digital rights and inclusion in African countries. And its latest report, covering 2024, features 27 African countries. You know you can't have such a list without the African giants, Nigeria. Hello, Khadijah, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, and thank you for that fantastic introduction.
So, how are you enjoying DRIF? How has it been so far?
Oh, it's really good. For those who don't know, this is 7:48 a.m. and it's a very cool morning. Much better than the Nigerian weather, I can tell you that.
So we'll just dive right into it, talking about Nigeria, because we're here at DRIF to discuss digital rights and digital inclusion.
Yes.
But then whenever you talk about digital rights and Nigeria, one thing comes to the minds of many people. You know, we might think about things like NSAS, but also we think about the Twitter ban. So how did this Twitter ban, I think it was 2021, how did it reshape digital or online activism and digital spaces in Nigeria?
So that is a fantastic question. The big thing is that before that ban, whenever people like us, advocates of digital rights and inclusion, are talking about things like internet shutdowns, the average response from a Nigerian is that it can never happen. Most people could never imagine that it was a possibility. Not long before Twitter itself was banned, the president at the time, I think, made sure that a website was shut down. Because, you know, internet shutdowns look like different things. It's not just pulling down the internet completely. It can be censorship of certain websites like Twitter. But there was a particular news website at the time, People's Gazette, that was brought down, and people didn't take it to be too serious until it was something like Twitter. Yeah. So then it made it a possibility. And then something that is significant in the 2024 report is that...
That's the 2024 Londa Report.
Yes,
for
the
Nigeria.
2024 Londa Report for Nigeria. You know, you mentioned NSAS, which was a protest period, right? In 2024, people started clamoring for more things, you know, better governance. There was a protest that was planned for August 1st to 10th in 2024 called the End Bad Governance protest. There was a lot of call from the government for people to not protest. Now, August 1st, we started to experience throttling of the internet.
So let me stop you for a minute. What is throttling of the internet?
Fantastic question. So on the day that the protest was planned, all of a sudden, nobody had network.
So it's like the bandwidth was reduced or something.
Exactly. So it would come up and then it would just go down. An example is I myself was trying to go into a meeting and I could not get a taxi. I could not get Uber, Bolt, all of those things because the internet was down. And it was in a way that it would go down for 30 minutes, come up for 1 minute, where your WhatsApp messages would quickly come in and then it would disappear. So it then becomes confusing for advocates because you cannot say the internet was shut down.
Exactly.
So it went up and down. So that's what we mean by throttling. Yes. So it affected communications throughout the protest period. So that meant that people could not communicate. They didn't know what was going on. They didn't know where the protest grounds were. And I believe that that was the intention. But no responsibility was ever taken either by the government or the service providers.
And so things like throttling of the internet, shutdowns are just some digital rights violations. I mean, much later we are going to see how these digital rights violations, how Paradigm Initiative is addressing some of these digital rights violations. But then you, as author of the Londa Report for 2024 for Nigeria, what other thing really struck you from the report?
Okay, so another interesting thing is that if you've been reading the Londa Report, you would know that something that was very problematic for us was our Cybercrimes Act. It is an act that is problematic for a lot of African countries, actually. So it has been notoriously used to arrest journalists and bring down dissenting voices, especially of government. So it was amended in 2024, and a very notorious section was then reduced. Let's say that. Yeah. This was section 24, so that was amended, and it's a win and not so much of a win in the space. It was amended, but it's still in a way that can be abused by authorities.
And you're talking about responsibilities, you're talking about authorities, but then what are other recommendations which you had, not just for authorities, but then for other stakeholders? Because when people think about rights and violations, every time they look at the government, they always say it's the government. But then it's something which involves everybody.
Yes.
So what are the recommendations or the key recommendations? Of course, you can't give all, but then what are the key recommendations for different stakeholders which are outlined in the Londa Report?
Thank you. That's a good question. I know that I've been mentioning government a lot, but if you read the report, you would also see that we spoke about private sector, and we also spoke about some of the wins that the government has had as well, including around the artificial intelligence strategy and doing more around artificial intelligence. But some recommendations that the report had was doing better with enforcement of the Nigerian Data Protection Act. You might know that the Nigerian Data Protection Act, as at the time, and the commission, as at the time the report was written, was just a year old. So they're new, they're getting a hang of the job, and we understand that there will be teething issues. So one of the recommendations was just better enforcement of the act. We also spoke about strengthening the enforcement of our freedom of information processes. But for private sector, we also spoke about redesigning their infrastructure to include people with disabilities. So this is also digital, things like digital banking, for instance, to include people with disability. For private sector actors to publish more transparency reports. In the report, we spoke about these famous social media platforms and the requests to take down some of the content. We want to see more of that. You'd find that a lot of them publish these reports in almost encrypted files or in Excel sheets that are so difficult for the average person to go in and find this information. The question is that intentional? They should make things like this more transparent and accessible to the random person on the street, because the random person on the street is your user, is your customer. And I guess for civil society organizations as well is obviously to keep an eye on the landscape and continue to do the advocacy that we are already doing.
Thank you very much, Khadijah. So these recommendations typically cut across. We've been talking with a couple of other Londa authors. We have spoken with Rwanda, Benin, Central African Republic, Senegal, Cameroon, and a lot of these cut across. So there are a lot of similarities, but then that brings me to the innovation in this year's Londa Report. There's the score index or scorecard. And what it does is it ranks the different countries in the report based on a set of metrics. There are quite a number of them, but some of them include internet shutdowns, false news criminalization, sedition legislation, data protection legislation, arbitrary arrests, and all of that. Nigeria ranks among the top 10 out of 27 countries. Is that a good thing?
I think so. So We do our best.
So there are 27 countries, right? And like I was telling a Londa author yesterday, some country just has to come last. I mean, out of 27, you cannot say number 28 and leave the space blank. Some country has to come last. But then Nigeria ranks top 10. And of course, the hope is that next year when we're coming here, we'll see better.
DRIF25. DRIF Coachalo.
But I want us to look a little bit out of Nigeria. In your role, you are Senior Programs Officer for Anglophone West Africa at Paradigm Initiative, which means the work you do transcends the Nigerian borders. And so I know you also do some work on strategic litigation, addressing digital rights violations and such challenges across the continents with West Africa as focus. Can you walk us through just one or two key legal battles or advocacy efforts for online freedom which you've carried out?
So a lot of it, there's one key challenge with strategic litigation on the continent. It's an awareness thing. So there is always the struggle to let people know that this is the issue and this is what you need to be able to take on. So we do, some of our litigation is also through our digital rights reporting platform, Reporty. I don't know if it has come up at all in the podcast.
Oh, we spoke about that during the edition for Press Freedom Day.
Okay, that
yeah.
is.
But maybe you want to just throw more light on it again, because someone asked, but what is Reporty? How does it work? And what proof is there that Reporty has worked for others and it's going to work for me?
Oh, well, okay. That is a lot to talk about. So Reporty is a digital rights reporting platform that you can find on reporty.africa. Reporty is a Swahili word that means report. It is actually accessible to people from all over the global south. So where you experience a digital rights violation, you go on the website, you make a report, and then someone from the Paradigm Initiative team or one of our partners would be able to contact you to follow up for more information and find out how we can be able to assist you. Now, the digital rights violations that can be reported, they're very wide. It can go from cyberbullying to any sort of online gender-based violence, to any freedom of expression, to any violations of your rights to freedom of expression, where you have experienced something like an internet shutdown, where you have experienced some sort of digital security breach. Our interventions are wide-ranging. It can be that what you need is better information, for instance, how to secure your devices better. We can provide that sort of support for you, or where what you need is legal support, we can then do that. We have successfully represented various individuals in courts, which brings me to the question that brought us here in the first place. We have represented individuals in court, and some cases that we've won more recently are against the United Bank for Africa, where the individual we represented was awarded approximately $3,000 in damages.
Oh, wow. Money.
Yeah. We've also represented individuals against banks, and we've also represented countries, let's say, against, say, their data protection commissions or immigration authorities when it comes to how data is being managed. A case that I found very interesting was a case that we're representing a man in Ghana, also where he was defamed and doxed online. So doxing.
I think I like this example because when you're talking about banks and everything, in Africa there are millions of people who don't even have bank accounts. So they are feeling like, oh, that is for some people who are at a certain level in society. But I think I enjoyed this other particular example.
Yeah. So this person was he was in a relationship with a woman who things ended badly, and then she published a lot of his information online. He took it to court on his own, and then the courts gave an order that all of this information be brought down. But you know how blogs just sort of carry things everywhere, including the national news agency of the country, which is Ghana. And we've been able to follow up with the Data Protection Authority in Ghana, the national news agencies, to bring down some of this information. And I think it's only one rogue blog that we still have pending. So, like I said, it's a wide range of possible interventions, a wide range of countries, a wide range of violations.
This really has a lot of depth, and I think we need to dedicate a couple of editions of the Bean podcast just to talk about these. But thank you very much for coming, Khadijah. We are glad to have had you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, it's sad to see you go. Our time for today has run out.
Yeah.
We are glad you're here with us. Khadijah is Senior Programs Officer for Anglophone West Africa at Paradigm Initiative.
That's me. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good time as well.
Thank you, Khadijah. You've been listening to the Paradigm Initiative podcast, brought to you from Lusaka, Zambia, at the 12th edition of the Digital Rights and Inclusion Forum, DRIF. I have been your host, Giyonzi. Keep it here for next time.
Zambezi.